Good afternoon. My name is Tariq, and today I'll be going over is the American dream achievable? An analysis on home affordability. Now, the main reason for this project comes from a personal standpoint. As someone who's currently looking for to purchase a home, the price on homes has been a major deterrent, and one of the main reasons why I moved back from to Dallas from LA. So, what is the American dream? The American dream is a fundamental pillar of our nation. It grants us the opportunity for prosperity and success, as well as an upward social mobility for everyone through hard work. So one of the essential tools for this upward mobility is owning a home. As for most families, a house is the centerpiece and a predominant part of their household wealth. So this report constitutes of five visuals. Uh, Price to income, which shows the overall price to income of the nation from 1985 up to 2020. A map visual that shows the price to income of each state. This one is from 2016 to 2020. A race visual that shows the price to income broken down by the four major races. And these, and then a price to income age visual, which breaks down the price to income by the six categories of age. And then finally, marital status that breaks down the price to income into the four categories. The purpose of this report is to analyze how difficult it is to purchase a home for different demographic groups and why increasing home prices makes it harder for ordinary Americans to prosper and achieve that elusive American dreams. But before we move forward, let's go over some keywords and key performance indicators, keywords, key performance indicators, and the data dictionary. So the report revolves around the price to income ratio, and also the year over year price to income, as well as the decade over decade price to income. The raw data itself comes from various sources, mainly Census Bureau, Department of Labor, and Zillow. Being that the reports came from different sources, there were many tables. Overall, there was about 14 to 16 tables that I had to append and merge. In Power BI, if you use SQL, appending is basically a union. You're taking two tables and you're basically putting them over each other. While a merge is basically a join. You're basically taking two tables and you're joining them together. So I was able to append and merge the 14 to 16 tables into a main table, which has the various demographics, and a state table, which has the state information. So as far as the key word, what is a PTI? The PTI is a price to income ratio. It is a ratio between the prices of a median home to that of a median annual household income. In simple terms, it measures affordability. The ideal ratio, if you go to a bank and looking for a loan, is 2.6, which means as a household, you can afford a house if its price is equivalent to 2.6 years of their income. So a house earning 100,000 will be able to afford a house that's 260,000. Now, if you live in Dallas, if you can find that house, good luck. Let me know. Now, looking at the main dashboard, the overall PTI has been hovering over 5.0 for the past 30 years. It is a function of both the housing price and the income. So what does that mean? Let's go back to the slide and look at income. Looking at today's real average wage, that is the wage after accounting for inflation, has about the same purchasing power it did 40 years ago, increase of less than 25%. Now, keep in mind, inflation this year, which is an invisible tax, is at 7%. Now, when you juxtapose that with the median house prices that have seen a more than 125% increase in prices since 1960s, there is a big gap between the two. Now, going back to the map visual, while it's true that incomes in the higher income in more expensive, the incomes are higher in the more expensive states, say California or Hawaii, these places tend to also have higher prices for homes. yes, the higher wages is very attractive, but there's still not enough to meet the increased cost and demand for housing. So with desirable states like California, getting high demands that can't keep up with the supply, thus spiraling the prices of homes to new heights. So if you look at most of the desirable states like California, Hawaii, Colorado, are typically will have high income, but their home value will also be very high. And then the lower states, such as the flyover states, the income is up there, but then you can see that the home value is a lot lower. And one of the main reasons is because California is typically urban, while these states are typically more that people live in the suburbs. So the people are more spaced out. Now, on a personal example, as far as what demand is, my wife's brother lives in Alabama, and he's currently looking for a home. The home was 300,000, but due to bids, after 25 bids, the home rose to 400,000. Nothing changed in the home, nothing changed in the land, just a 25% increase because of demand. Now, going into the race visual, being that we are speaking about income, Asian Americans are the lowest percentage of workforce, yet they have the highest income in comparison to everyone else nationwide. Uh, because of that, their PTI is the lowest, as you can see at 4.4, while everyone else is around, if you look at Hispanics, at about 7%, Black at around 6%, and then white, the second lowest at about 4.645%. Also, decade over decade, the Asian race have seen the lowest rise in their price to income ratio at a single digits, while every other race have seen double digits price rise in their price to income ratio. So what does this? So this brings us to key insights. On the negative side, Americans are working harder, are working longer and harder than in the past. So when we look at the age visual, since 2010, go to the 65 and over demographic saw the largest increase in their workforce percentage. So if you go back to, let's go back to 2000. In 2000, the 65 and over workforce was 32 million, or about 11% of the population. Now, and then in 2000, this 35 to 44 was the largest. This is shown by the dark blue, and then the lighter is the 65 and older. Now, when you juxtapose that with 2020, the most recent year, as you can see, the 65 and older is now the dark blue. The workforce increased to 53 million, or 17% of the population. So in about 20 years, they are now the largest workforce of the nation. So what does that mean? It means it's getting harder for older people to retire. Thus, they continue to work. This keeps the wages down for other people, because the older you are, the less income you are able to command, as well as it makes it harder for inexperienced workers, the 15 to 24-year-old, to gain experience by entering the workforce early, thus reducing the overall earning potential of the nation. On the positive side, it does pay to be married. Historically, being married allowed buyers to have the lowest price to income ratio of about 4.55%, which was always below the nationwide income of 5.73%. And the main reason for that is a married person is able to command higher income due to being in a stable situation and most likely stay in the same company, as well as the ability to combine income with their spouse when it comes to time to purchase a home. Also, location plays a big part. Married people tend to live in the suburbs, which are typically cheaper, while single people typically will live in the urban areas, which are typically higher. Now, if we go back to the PowerPoint, the question becomes, what can we do to slow down the rise of unaffordability? The first way is to provide a livable wage. Now, a livable wage is different than a minimum wage, is because it's the amount of income determined to provide a decent standard of living. This will give each state more power in determining how to implement a livable wage, since it will be complicated for the U.S. government to demand certain wages in certain areas. So, for example, if you look at Missouri, 46,000 will be perfectly fine for Missouri. But if you go to California, 46,000, you're basically below their livable wage of 57,000. And the second things that will help out is slow the demand for housing by increasing the short-term interest rate and cap the amount of home companies are able to purchase at one time due to speculative and risky behavior by these bulk buyers who are able to price out individual buyers by paying cash for homes. This problem is highlighted recently with the collapse of Zillow home buying sector that had to close shop because it couldn't offload 37,000 homes that it purchased cash. Those 37,000 homes could have went to 37,000 households. And then third, increase the supply of housing by allowing states to create their own version of the low income housing tax credit. This housing tax credit will leverage federal bonds funding to create more affordable units each year and increase the opportunity for families to purchase homes. Now, the low income housing tax credit has been one of the most successful government programs. It was enacted in 1986, and overall, since that period, it had placed 3 million affordable homes, as well as generate over 323 billion of local income that it generated. That is basically the end of the presentation. Personally, I do believe the American dream is alive and well. As we can see by our fellow colleague Onyeka getting his house, congratulations. And me and my missus will be achieving ours September. Thank you.
All right, everybody take yourselves off of mute and give them a woo, woo.